I really should have called this talk what I learned about social media at 1400 feet. Just before lockdown, 2.5 years ago. So I was very fortunate enough to jump out of an airplane over Mossel Bay. And the experience was quite exhilarating, but it was also quite nerve-wracking. So I found myself walking towards the plane in my little red overall. I wasn't strapped onto anyone yet, and I was absolutely petrified. I really don't want to die. As much as I love the thrill of jumping out of an airplane or off a zip line or anything, I don't, like all of you, don't want to die. But then I looked at the guy that I was going to be strapped to, and I realized that this guy knew so much more about jumping out of airplanes than I ever did, out of parachuting, that I needed to trust him. He was putting his life at risk as much as I was. His knowledge was there. There were so many things. And for some of you, that's what social media is all about. You're petrified of it. You're scared to put yourselves out there. You don't want to step out of the airplane. But at some stage, you have to say, look, I've done my homework. I know who I'm working with. I trust the people I'm working with. I'm going to do this. So I did it. That's my little certificate for jumping out of a perfectly good airplane at 14,000 feet. I hope all of you, even if you're not going to jump out of an airplane, will take some kind of leap today. So by way of introduction, as Tracy pointed out to you, my name is Mike Sade. Oh, sorry. Let me just put my phone on silent. You can find me on Facebook at Mike Said What. You'll find me on Twitter at Mike_said_what. You'll find me on Instagram at Mike Said What. You'll find me on YouTube at Mike Said What. You're welcome to connect with me on any of these. I'm a little bit of an oversharer, so you'll get to see everything about me at the time. At the same time, you're also more than welcome at any time to WhatsApp me on 081-398-2190. So please, if you have a problem, please do. Just a couple of rules about this. I have already uploaded the presentation for you. You can find it on my website. Also, Tracy has a copy of it and she will distribute it to all of you. I'll gladly email you the link to the download if you'd like, and I'm happy to connect with you on all channels. There is only one rule, as Tracy pointed out earlier on. Please don't leave me a voice note. Absolutely, those things drive me insane. It can be nothing worse than that one-way conversation. So please, anything but a voice note. Today's presentation, I really have got 4 objectives of the presentation. The first one is I really just want to introduce you to social media. In 1.5 hours, I can't teach you everything you need to know. In fact, in the 11 or 12 years that I've been doing it, I still don't know everything I need to know, and I'm learning all the time. The second thing I really want to do is I want to calm you. I want you to understand that this is not as difficult as it first appears. It's not as threatening. It's not jumping out of an airplane, that I can tell you right now. And then also I want to inform you. I want to give you some hints and tips. I want to show you some things that have worked for me, why some things work, why some things don't. And most importantly, I really want to inspire you. I want to inspire you to do something different. I want to inspire you to take that leap, to step out of the airplane, to say, okay, I have a business, I need to market it, and social media is where I'm going to put it. And I'll explain to you why. One of the main reasons why social media has actually taken off so much is there have been really 7 big shifts in marketing over the last couple of years. And the first one is a shift towards honesty and transparency. And if you think back just a while ago, you would have trusted your doctor before the word of God. I mean, that was all about. If your doctor said to you, go home, get into bed and take this medicine, you simply did it. Now it's completely different. The moment you feel any kind of ailment, the first thing you go onto is md.com or you'll Google it. You'll go look at your symptoms. On the way to the doctor, you'll be reading up on what he might be telling you. When you get to the doctor, you'll probably Google his diagnosis. Then when he makes a prescription for you, you'll probably Google the medicine. So this whole thing about trust has just like kind of disappeared. We're double checking everything. I was the marketing manager for Mug and Bean when it first started out. We used to tell that beautiful story on the back of the Mug and Bean, where about the back of the menu, about the history of Mug and Bean. And of course, it was all nonsense. It was all made up to create some kind of history and whatever about that. And nowadays, if Mug and Bean were to try something like that, it would take about 2 minutes before hashtag Mug and Bean are lying would be trending on Twitter or on Facebook. So there is really a swing towards honesty and transparency. There's another swing to perception versus reality. And that is that, and this kind of almost flies in the face of honesty and transparency, but it's the ability of us to make ourselves look bigger, more important than we were before. So for example, a small little business, by creating a really good website, by putting together professional business cards, by putting professional marketing material together, you can create the perception that you're actually a bigger company than you actually are, which is, don't get me wrong, you're not telling people you are, it's a perception you're creating. So although it flies a little bit against honesty and transparency, it's also how important perception is. So it's really not important what you actually are. It's actually become more and more important what people think you are and how they think you as a business can operate. Another really major shift is a one away from interruption marketing. Now, interruption marketing is adverts that appear on TV, a little inserts in magazines, adverts in the newspaper. Now, as I'm speaking to you about all of these, you guys realize that a lot of these have already disappeared. When it comes to television, most of us are PVRing it, or we're watching on catch up just so that we can avoid the adverts. People are paying millions and millions, and all of a sudden there are no adverts. At the same time, magazines are disappearing off the shelves. And even those that are, we're looking for more content than we ever were before. There are a couple of interruption marketings that are still working. There's still billboards all over the place, although that's become almost like pollution at the moment. And the one kind of interruption marketing that I would recommend, if you can afford it, is radio advertising, because it's the one medium where people don't shift channels as soon as the adverts come on. So even though they might believe they're disengaging from the advert, they're actually hearing it all the time. So that would be one of the things. There's another major shift to show, don't tell. In other words, stop telling people you're good and start showing them that they're good. Stop telling them about your product and start showing them your product. And you see this more and more. For example, I know on a Sunday morning, if I go to Builder's Warehouse, there'll be a whole lot of tents outside with tools set up. People are demonstrating drills and saws and glues, and you getting samples. That's really what it's about. Even going into a supermarket and watching someone cook something in front of you, that show, don't tell. And that's where video marketing has become very, very important. So if you can show people what you do instead of just telling them, create little videos about what works and what doesn't work. So for example, if you're running a plumbing business, what you might want to do is put out a series of 30-second or 60-second videos of short little things that your customers can come to rely on you for. So for example, how to switch off the mains, how to disconnect a tap that's leaking. Then what happens is you become the person they trust. Then when they need you, they come and fetch you, they call you, they do business with you. Another major shift is one towards targeting and segmentation. In other words, understanding exactly who your target market is. And those of you that heard Tracy talk, I think it's the 11th of May, I'm giving a talk called Cutting Through the Digital Clutter. And the whole idea of that talk is just to help you with your targeting and segmentation, making sure that you're putting the right message in front of the right people. Because as small business owners, we don't have a lot of money to spend on marketing. We really do need to fish where the fish are. So it's about understanding exactly who your target market is. Now, when I sit down in front of small business owners and I say to them, who's your target market? I usually get the same answer, which is everyone. Then I say, well, don't you at least mean everyone who's got money? And they go, oh, yes. And they say, don't you mean everyone with money who lives in your area? And so you narrow it down until what you have in front of you is your ideal customer. Whether that ideal customer is a female between the age of 35 and 37 who lives in the northern suburbs in a gated community and drives a particular car, doesn't matter. But you really want to get an understanding of exactly who that target market is. Because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be spending most of our money trying to attract that target market. It doesn't mean for 1 second, if a young male comes along who happens to live on a farm somewhere and they need your product, that you're going to turn them away and say to them, oh, I'm actually not interested in you. That's not what it's about. Targeting and segmentation is understanding who you're going to be putting your product in front of as often as possible. Then there's another switch to integration. And integration means that everything kind of has to resemble everything else. So for example, you can't have a beautiful business card and an ugly website, or vice versa. Or when you do a presentation, have spelling mistakes and those images with the little lines on them because you stole them off Google. You need to start making sure that everything about your business reflects who and what you are and what you want people to perceive you to be. So that's where integration comes in. So you can't, it's not about having a little bit. You've got to kind of do everything really well. It's getting harder and harder, but it's easy to do. And then finally, there's a real swing towards disruption. And disruption is when industries, for example, are disrupted. And probably the one that we're all most aware of is, for example, Uber and Uber Eats. Those are two that everyone really does understand. In fact, almost every day when you switch on the TV and you're watching Netflix, you're looking at an industry that was completely disrupted. I mean, so few of us go to movies anymore. Nobody goes to the video store anymore. That whole industry was turned on its head by Netflix. I know myself, if I'm at the airport and I want to get left home, I'll call Uber any day, whereas in the past I would never have picked up a taxi outside. They really have disrupted that as well. It's also really important to understand that we really all do love disruption, but we hate being disrupted. So you need to be careful that your particular industry isn't being disrupted at the same time. Now, I know because I was looking at the attendance sheet. I know that Brad Wax is here. Brad is a locksmith. And that's the kind of industry which we're always going to need a locksmith. I mean, if you guys want to have a bit of fun, just pop onto YouTube and search for the lock-picking lawyer and watch this guy absolutely destroy locks. He's never going to teach me how to be a locksmith. I love watching him because he's amusing, he's fast, he makes me realize also just how unsafe we all are. But there are some industries which are easy to disrupt and some that aren't. So you need to make sure that you understand. And disruption is absolutely everywhere we look at the moment. The way to set up a disruption is quite simple. You need to find a way to save your customers time. You need to target your customers. You make sure that you're covering every one of their needs, and then you need to try and see if you can make money when no one else was. That's also a very important part of it, is the ability to make money. So that's kind of the disruptions, which leads us to marketing itself. So first of all, people often say to me, so what is marketing? And let me try and put it this way. Everything that I do before I meet the customer, I consider marketing. From the time I meet the customer till I close the deal, I consider that sales. From sales until I get another one, I consider that customer service and also marketing. And that's kind of the way to look at it. So marketing is about the only thing in your business that's going to bring in new money and new business. And that's what makes it so important. So marketing is all about perception. Quite simply, what you want to say to yourself is, what do they think of me right now? What I want them to think of me, and how am I going to get it? I'm assuming that my screen is being shared. I just got a little message. How am I going to do that? So in other words, how am I going to get people to drink my coffee, contact me, love my brand, use my service, whatever it is? And what's very, very important there is to understand what is your message to them. So important. That's why I can tell you once again, 11th of May, join us for Cutting Through the Digital Clutter. It'll help you establish what your message is and who you put it in front of. Another thing I just want to warn you right now is that appearance is everything. You need to make sure that you appear as you'd like people to see you. You need to make sure that everything's professional, the way you answer the phone, the way your emails are structured, spelling mistakes that are missing. And I know even myself, somewhere along this presentation, somebody's going to let me know that I put a spelling mistake. And I check them over and over, and I still make mistakes. And someone still at the end of the presentation writes back to me and said to me, you mixed up the E and the A, or the I and the E. And I thank them and I fix it, and I give myself a little bit of a slap on the head. So just before I go on, normally I would ask questions at this stage. I'm not going to. I'm going to save all the questions for the end. So please, if you have any questions, write them down, put them in the chat. Tracy does see the questions, and if something really important pops up, she will interrupt me and we'll get on to that. So we're going to skip this question time. And now I'm going to talk about what we're going to cover today. First of all, we are going to cover your website and your blog, because despite what people are telling you about Facebook and all the other mediums, it is still vitally important that you have a website and a blog, or both, or whatever, because in the end, that's where people are going to go to do research on you. We'll talk a little bit about Facebook, then I'm going to talk about video marketing, and then some other stuff. So as I stated just now for you, despite the popularity of Facebook, this still remains your starting post. So how do I build myself a website? Well, the very first thing you need to do is actually go and get yourself a domain package. a domain hosting package. I highly recommend AfriHost. I've been using them for ages. There are lots of other companies that do it as well. Please, I don't get commission from AfriHost. Unfortunately, I used to recommend Access. I don't anymore. They changed a few things. They started charging for extras that they didn't do before. So I've kind of crossed them off my list. There are other people, but most importantly, what you really want to know is you want to know that you have a cPanel and a MySQL database. Just make a screenshot of that. Make sure you can get a cPanel and a MySQL database, that then you're on your way. My second recommendation is that you pay for it yourself. This is to ensure that you own your own domain. Don't let someone register your domain for you, because later on there might be an argument, there might be a disagreement. You have to go through the whole thing of trying to get your own domain back from someone. It's a nightmare. So please pay for your own domain wherever possible. If you want to build it, I am a very big WordPress fan. It's easy to use. There are plenty of plugins. I know there are guys that build in Wix, there are guys that build in other languages, but I can tell you, for a start-off website for a small business, you cannot do better than WordPress at the moment. So that's my recommendation all the time. You can also, when it comes to designing, you can try your hand at your own designing. There are plenty of YouTube videos to watch on how to build a WordPress website if you're prepared to go through it. If not, call in a designer, have someone do it for you. It's not going to cost you, or shouldn't cost you, a fortune. Do some research, make some phone calls, get that website built for yourself. When you do decide to build your website, let me just talk about some essentials when it comes to your website. And here they are. First of all, you really want to have a nice looking headline, something that draws people to it. Underneath that is a kind of secondary headline with some copy about what you do. Number 4, testimonials. Please put testimonials on your front page, at least 1 or 2. People love to read what other people think of you. Number 5 and number 6, those are call to action buttons. Very often someone will phone me up and say, I've got this beautiful website, but nobody's calling for service. I'll go look at the website and I'll say, well, where does it tell me what to do? Where does it tell me to call you? Where does it tell me to email you? Anything like that. So you really, you must make sure there are lots and lots of calls to action. Number 7 is your navigation. Please don't mess with your navigation. It's pretty simple. On the left-hand side is the home page. After that's about, then you can put almost anything you like, services, images, blog, etc. And on the far right-hand side, contact details. This is kind of how it is everywhere. There's no reason to do it any other way. And then number 8, make sure you're using really good high quality images. Any of you that have come to my Canva presentation know that Canva have got some magnificent images. If you've got the Canva Pro, you have millions and millions of free images to choose from, high quality, no watermarks. Go and do it. And then finally, number 9, those arrows that stretch across, is please make sure that you're building a responsive website. In other words, your website knows whether it's being viewed on a telephone, it's being viewed on an iPad, or it's being viewed on a big screen, and it adjusts itself accordingly. Because there can be nothing worse nowadays than trying to, well, first of all, Google won't even rank you if you don't have a responsive site. They just slide you right back to page 3, page 4, whatever it is. I'm not sure how many of you know how many people have walked on the moon, but there have been 12 people that walked on the moon, which means that more people have walked on the moon than have looked at page 2 of a Google search. And you have to find ways to get yourself onto page 1 as soon as possible. Next thing you might want to do is you might want to do some blogging. And I do a fair amount of that. I blog on my own website where I call it my writing. And then I blog on what was my dude food site, my little food thing. And there what I do is I actually blog in video format. So whether you're blogging in writing or you're vlogging, which is the other word for blogging, is no problem. The really nice thing about blogs is they keep your website fresh. They keep giving people a reason to come back. And they also give Google a reason to come back all the time and talk to you. So please, I know some of you have ignored it. Now's the time. Step out of your comfort zone. Go build that website. Even if it's just 1 page, make sure it works. Make sure it's responsive. Get some help and get yourself a website out there right away. I'm going to skip that. We'll go on. Okay, now, I cut my teeth in the old days as the marketing manager for Mug and Bean. And we had a pretty simple thing. We said that our job was turning customers into regulars and regulars into friends. So in other words, we had a kind of path that we wanted you to follow. And in business, there is a path that we want you guys to get your customers to do. And it works perfectly like this. First of all, right now, most of the people out there are strangers in your life. And we need to at least turn strangers into visitors, whether they're visitors to your brick and mortar site, whether they're visitors to your website, whether they're visitors to your Facebook page, your Instagram, your TikTok. It doesn't really matter. But what we want to do is we want to convert a whole lot of strangers into visitors. And the way we do that is with blogs, keywords, social publishing, paid promotions, buying adverts, anything we can do that'll entice people to have a look at something and then decide to come and visit your particular page on that. Once we've got visitors, now we actually want to convert them into leads. And the way we do that is by having forms that put their call to actions, landing pages, special offers, anything we can do to induce that visitor to make contact with you. Whether you're giving away free videos or they have to sign up for your newsletter, anything that you can do, a form where they fill out a questionnaire, anything you can do to make those visitors engage with you. Once they've started to engage with you, they then become leads. The next step is to take them from leads to customers. And the way we do that is with customer relationship management, emails, workflows, giving away stuff, remaining in contact with them, enlightening them as to what we sell, having a store that you can buy from, building an e-commerce store on your site so they don't even have to phone you. Anything we can do to turn those those leads into customers. And then the final step, we actually want to turn those customers into promoters. And that's another major step. So for example, sitting in front of me, I know there's a huge audience. Most of you have either got iPhones or Samsung. Those are probably the two. There might be a couple of Huawei users out there. But if I were to ask you guys in a poll, who you recommend, which phone I should buy, most of you would tell me to buy the phone that you're using. You're familiar with it and you're very happy to promote that to you. So what I want you to do is I want you to start looking at your customers and work out how can I get my customers to actually become promoters. And the way we do that is to survey them all the time, to give them great content, to monitor what they're saying socially and respond to them. Because once we can get people to start promoting on our behalf using social media, that becomes a huge thing. Now, when I go into restaurants, I'll often say to them, okay, what have you got that's shareable? And they go, what do you mean? I say, well, you want customers to come in, you want them to share their experience. So that's why more and more you're seeing those big yellow frames that people stand in with Table Mountain behind them or some scene behind them. You know, I need to tell you that one was recently erected in Mossel Bay, and I think they completely lost the plot because there's actually nothing behind it. So someone took the trouble of putting up this big yellow frame that everyone's supposed to photograph and share with absolutely nothing on it. But I'm hoping by the time I get back, they've changed that. So strangers to visitors, visitors to leads, leads to customers, customers to promoters. And then the next thing that people talk about all the time is what they call lead generation. Where am I going to get my leads from? And the first step is to set up an email marketing system for yourself. Now, I know that AutoJet runs, I think through Nadine Hochter, they run a MailChimp. I think it's MailChimp sessions on how to do email marketing. Sign up for one of those, attend one of them, and start doing some email marketing. The next thing you want to do is you want to start blogging regularly. By regularly, I mean it's once a month, once a week. It doesn't really matter. It could be a vlog. Just be regular. Put content out there for your customers to enjoy. On my own website, what I try and do is every couple of months or even a couple of weeks, if something comes up, I put out little videos or I write little articles and I post them. I share them as much as possible. I use my email marketing to do that. The next thing is to be consistent on social media. You can't do social media once in 3 months and then can't understand why nobody responds to it. You need to be regular. You need to have a social media plan. You also need to design great offers. You need to have reasons for people to do business with you. Look at your business. What can you offer them? What sets you apart? Is it price? Is it service? Whatever it is, design these great offers all the time. And then don't be scared to use success stories or testimonials. If something works and goes right, tell people about it. Show your success. People want to share in your success. You know, some people are going to go, oh, there he goes, he's boasting again. Well, they're probably not your target market, and don't worry about it at all. So share those success stories, build landing pages, make sure they call to actions, and then most importantly, keep on keeping on. You're not going to get it right the first time. I can promise you right now. It's even when I teach Canva, I always say your first Canva advert is going to be cuck. The less one, a little bit less cuck and less, until eventually you're building really good Canva adverts. So your first couple of lead generation attempts, your first email marketing, your first social media, some of those things might not get the results you want, but keep on keeping on. Keep posting, keep looking for great offers, keep sharing those success stories. That's lead generation. Saving the questions for the end, because the time really does fly. Now let's talk about the next most important thing, and that is your Facebook page. It is really important for you to start creating the Facebook page. Now, first of all, this is not your personal page. This is your own Facebook page. Now, I know that I am kind of the exception to the rule, and I go against what I preach, because I do use my personal page to promote my business. But my name is Mike Said. My business is Mike Said What. The two of them kind of go hand in hand. So I consider it a small exception. But most of the time, all I want you to do is go and create a business page. It really is worth the effort. Spend the time, spend the effort, spend a little bit of money if you have it here. You'll be amazed at the results you can get. This is a targeted businesses. This is where you invest and you learn and you target and you look at your audience and you spend money on them. That's what your Facebook page is all about. If you don't want to build it yourself, call in someone who can build that page for you. There are lots of people that do it for you. Spend a bit of money on it, but it's actually fun. It's fun doing it yourself. It's fun discovering that you can. Once again, sign up for my next Canva course. I'll teach you how to make all the banners. I think we did that in Canva Advanced, how to make banners, how to make adverts, how to make profile pictures, how to make your own logo. There is so much you can do if you're prepared to learn. There's nothing more upsetting for me than a small business owner complaining that he has no business or she has no business and no work, and is then spending that time moaning about it instead of learning new skills. The world is your oyster out there. You can do all of these things. So let's look at some Facebook essentials. First of all, create a business page and not a personal profile. It's a much better way to reflect your business. Add a great cover image, even if you have to buy it. But you don't have to buy it nowadays. But by using Canva, you can create some really great images, learn about the sizing, get it right. Add a recognizable profile pic to your page. Make sure the profile pic, people that have a profile pic of their dog, I don't quite really understand how that works on your business page, unless, of course, you are Pygmalion or one of these travel dog parlors. That's a different thing. And then, very important, prioritize quality over quantity every single time. Now, I know that I'm nagging you to post regularly, but I also want you to post good stuff regularly. I'd rather you post something really exceptional once in 2 weeks than post absolute nonsense every day or every second day, to the point where people are clicking on those 3 buttons on the right-hand side and learning to hide your content without you even knowing that they're not following you anymore. And I'm sure that happens to me many, many, many times, but such is life. Post your most compelling visual content. Visual content is what social media is all about. So we're looking for really good pictures. I'm amazed when someone goes for a hike. This is kind of my favorite. They go for a hike somewhere and they post 37 pictures that were taken 1 second after each other with no apparent, I can't even see any difference between the two of them. Or 17 pictures of the same dish from the same angle. We're looking for 1 or 2 really high quality images that show what you do, what your work's about, the quality of the goods you do, the quality of the service. So looking for that. It may not be pictures, it might be video, highly compelling visual imagery, a steak cooking on a grill, a tomato being sliced up with a sharp knife. Whatever your business is, find these compelling visual images that portray what it is you do. If you, for example, do aesthetics, Botox, etc., then what you want to do is have really good before and after images that show how good your image is. And then post and promote video content whenever possible. I can't tell you how important it is that video content is one of the things that people are just loving. They're sharing, they're enjoying it. You can stick it in your stories, you can stick it in, you can use it everywhere. So if you can find really good video content, you can make your own video content. Once again, a little punt for our talk. I'm not sure what we decided on. I think we said the 7th of June, somewhere around there, Tracy. We're doing video editing on your phone. I will show you what you can accomplish just with your own phone and apps that you can edit with on your phone. You can start creating your own content for your own things. Another thing is to make sure that everything is kind of complementary. So this is one of my clients, the Daily Coffee Shop in Bryanston. You can see no matter where you are, at which Daily Coffee Shop, they all have the kind of same logo. They all have the same look and feel. And that's what social media is all about. It's about that consistency in everything that you do. So we'll save the Facebook related questions a bit later on, and we go on to my absolutely favorite subject at the moment, which is YouTube marketing and video creation. There's almost nothing that's kind of beating at the moment. Nothing beats video at the moment. Let me tell you about the day that I learned to love video, which was almost by mistake. In the very, very early days of social media, I was asked by my stepdaughter to make a speech at her bat mitzvah. So that's now about 14, 15 years ago already. And what I did was I took the song Class of 99, Wear Sunscreen, I put images to it, and I stuck it on the internet. And people were, of course, there were tears in the audience and everyone loved it. Everyone asked me how I did it. I can't remember how I did it 14 years ago, but somehow I found a piece of software that I managed to put something together that was quite reasonable. I then decided that I'd put it on the internet just so that my sister who lives in Tucson and my wife's sister, my wife at the time sister who lived in Canada could see it. I think at the moment I'm sitting on about 2 million views or just over 2 million views. It was the day I realized the power of social media and the power of video. So please go out, put some effort into your video. It's not that hard to do. You can use your camera or your phone. You already have one right there in front of you. Almost any phone that you're using at the moment has everything you need. What you want to do is spend some time studying techniques. Follow video creators and marketers on YouTube. They're giving away excellent tips all the time. There are guys out there. I'll find a few names for you. They really know what they're doing. Use a tripod whenever you possibly can. Don't hold that phone out in front of you. Don't try to balance it. If you like, carry a big blob of press stick around. Don't try to stick it to the wall with press stick. Put a blob of press stick on a table or a bookshelf. Stand your phone up in that. It works like a great tripod. Improve your editing. There are multiple tools out there for you to use. Attend the video editing talk that I'm going to give with Ort. Improve your editing. You can honestly, from the most basic to professional, you can do professional editing for yourself. It is also very important that you improve the sound. Now, people will watch a poor video, but they will not listen to poor sound. So I can tell you that it is really worthwhile investing in a microphone that works for your particular application. And they start off at about 120 Rand up to a couple of thousand Rand. You'll decide what it is you want, but go and invest. It's called a lav microphone. It's a microphone that fits onto your collar while you're speaking with a cable to your particular phone. So just remember, if you're using an iPhone, it needs to have a certain fitting as opposed to Android phones, which still take this standard microphone jack. And then most importantly, practice, practice, practice. That's what this is all about. Spend the time practicing to make great video. Have fun, go out in the garden, create a video for yourself. If you like, you're more than welcome. Send me your first attempt. You can even WhatsApp it to me. I'll accept video, even though I won't accept voice notes. Send me your first attempt at a marketing video. I'll send you back some comments, how you can improve it, what I liked about it, where I felt you might have missed the boat on that. The next thing with video, there's great ways to invest. First of all, purchase a decent microphone, anywhere from about 600 Rand for really good ones. What you might want to do is invest in a little app. There's one called Filmic Pro for your phone. It costs about 200 Rand. Purchase a little microphone. In fact, you could probably spend about 200 Rand investing Filmic Pro, which is a great application for shooting on your phone. You don't need it, but it is worth it. Stock image subscriptions are really good. I would highly recommend Canva at the moment because you get all the images you need, stock video and images. get yourself a little tripod, one of small little attachments. I might have one lying around. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I shall return. See if I can find one. Sorry, it's not sitting here on my desk anywhere. So one of those little applications that hold your phone for you, then they fit in any kind of tripod. Those things cost anywhere from 50 Rand to about 150 Rand. They're really worth it. The little things you can get for free. There's an application called Quick or iRig Recorder. You can learn DaVinci Resolve. There are ways to edit film. There's no excuse not to create better video right now. And as I've said, attend my course. I'll help you as much as I possibly can. So video is my kind of the love of my life right now, to say there. So now, one of the things that I find is people say to me, Mike, I'm putting in all this effort. I'm creating adverts. I'm creating videos. I have a Facebook page. I have a page, and still I'm getting no kind of reaction from people at the moment. And the bottom line is what you're putting out there is just not appealing to people. So what I want to try and do is help you understand how you can create better content, and content that gets shared more than anything else, because likes are one thing, shares are a completely different thing. The first thing is you need to understand whether or not what you have is creating any kind of social currency. Does it make people feel good about themselves at the moment? And I'm quite amazed by the number of people who put out negative stuff on social media all the time, and then wonder why people are not identifying with them or feeling good. And I'm not talking about those that constantly putting out Jay Shetty quotes or stuff from Elephant Journal. Kind of my favorite pet hates those two. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about creating your own social currency that makes people feel good. Creating little video adverts about what you're doing to help people around you. Little things like that have great social currency. The next thing is understanding what triggers. How can you get people to remind people of your product? And in a book I read, which I'll speak about the book just now, called Contagious, he explains how KitKat turned their whole marketing strategy around by coming up with a simple little thing called KitKat and coffee. By getting people to understand the trigger between a KitKat and a coffee. And people are drinking 6 to 8 cups of coffee throughout the day. If every time they think about their coffee, they think about a KitKat, it can only do wonderful things. And KitKat sales, they skyrocketed by about 40% when they created that. So what triggers can you create between what you do that will help people remind them of your product or your service that you're doing? The next thing is, are you able to create an emotional connection with people? It's also very, very important that you can connect with them on an emotional level. And there are so many emotions we don't think about. It's not just the emotion of I want to buy. There's the emotion of I want to laugh. There's emotion of fear. There's emotion of sadness. All of the things are actually emotions. And somehow we want our content to click and trigger with people on an emotional basis. The next thing is there public appeal? Is it what everyone else is doing at the moment? And you see that all the time, and particularly those of you that do follow TikTok and all understand just how important it is to follow what other people are doing. So how TikTok works is, for example, someone finds a little quote from a movie or an image of a song, and then everyone does their own version of it. And the whole thing is not actually to be different, but to kind of be the same. And that's why you get these kind of challenges that go viral. I mean, some of them are more intelligent than others. There was the ice bucket challenge that went completely viral. There's the guys eating soap pods and falling off milk crates and whatever it is. And another example of public is the Jerusalem dance that went around, where all of a sudden everyone was doing it. I know by the time it reached the end of its life, we all wanted to kill ourselves rather than watch another one. But people that got on early got a lot of stickiness and sharing about that. The next one is there practical value to what you're sharing? It's very important that when you put something out there, you offer some practical value. And let me bring up my plumber again. If I could watch a video on how to change a washer, I know that means I might get one less call as a plumber, but if I become the person that you trust, it's not that hard to change a washer. It's not that hard to switch off my mains. I like to do practical value videos on my own website for restaurants. So I constantly are putting out a series of videos for restaurant owners to watch, and they generate a lot of interest and a lot of business for me. So people having watched my free videos will then call me in to do that same thing for them. I can't tell you the importance of that practical value. And then also, are you able to tell a story? Is there something relevant or some cool part of your story? And that's what Mug and Bean did so well in the early days with the story of Mug and Bean, is that they created a story that people that came from America would read the story and go, geez, I don't remember that, or I live in Montana, how come I've never heard of it? That story was so well written and so believable, it became such a part of our lives that it did amazing things. So once again, a warning about the honesty and transparency. Don't go make up stories, but what kind of story can you create around your brand and around yourself? Now, these 6 steps come from an amazing book called Contagious by Jonah Berger. I listened to it a number of times on Audible. I'm a huge Audible fan. There's nothing nicer than driving in my car and not wasting that time listening to rubbish. I'm listening to books all the time, looking to Contagious. Another great book called the One Page Marketing Plan is excellent. Every now and again, I digress, and I'm currently listening to Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I'm also listening to, what's his name, David Goggins. If any of you have come across David Goggins, the man's absolutely insane, but highly inspiring. So that's it. Those are the 6 steps: social currency, triggers, emotion. Does it connect with the public? Does it offer practical value? And am I telling a story? As I developed my own social media, I actually came across 4 R's of social media, which I've been teaching for a number of years. And the first one is that you really do need to be regular. This is not so much a number as a state of mind. I'm a regular poster on social media. In fact, if I go quiet for a week or 2 on social media, I will get private messages from people asking me if I'm okay. In fact, if I don't post something at least amusing every now and again, people ask me that everything's okay in my life, because they've come to expect that kind of thing from me. It also means that when I then do use my social media for marketing, I am getting some traction because it kind of fits in with everything that I do. The second R is relevance, finding things that are relevant at that particular moment. So right now, the relevance is around the removal of masks. So for example, if you have a beauty studio, now's the time to advertise makeup. We need to start putting on makeup again. Some people haven't worn makeup for ages. Start looking after our skin again. We have to remember not to swear under our masks, because we don't actually have those masks on anymore. I think make yourself a little note on your hand that says note to self, reminder not to mouth off about people when you're not wearing a mask. I think we've all become very adept at that. And then find some things that are remarkable, some things that stand out. The word remarkable comes from 2 words, able and remarks. In other words, people are able to remark about it. That's the kind of quality of stuff that you want to put out there. And then very important is not to downplay the reality that that you're real people with humility, with humor, with humanity. Now, very often companies will phone me up and say to me, do you do social media for other people? Which of course I do. In fact, I'll do it gladly. The problem is you then tend to lose the real aspect of it. So you have everything else except the real aspect. So regular, relevant, remarkable, and real. Now, you can't get all 4 of those right all the time. What we're looking for is a minimum of 2 and possibly 3 of those at any one time. Regular is not hard. That's your state of mind. You decide to do it. Relevant, look at what's happening in the world at the moment and use that. I mean, there's a lot of relevance around the vaccine, whether you're pro or against it. This is not a debate at the moment, whether you're pro or against masks, but all the things are relevant in our lives at the moment. What's happening in the Ukraine is relevant at the moment. Can you in some way offer some news, some excitement without being too controversial? You're going to be doing business with people who are pro and against a lot of the stuff that you're going to talk about. So then people often say to me, Mike, I'm just not seeing this kind of stuff on my page. I'm not seeing this kind of relevance at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a couple of things that I tried that really did work out for me. And the first one is, I'm not sure how many of you saw this particular.
And the movement of people will be lifted. Alcohol will be sold for home consumption. Only under strict conditions and specified way.
So that particular little clip,
If you on the movement
sorry, I had a feeling on that particular day that he was going to announce the lifting of alcohol. So I planned that little clip beforehand. Within a couple of hours, it had 161,000 views. Other sites that shared it, for example, a guy by the name of Radio Corps, he got another 114,000 views. And what it was about that clip is that it was funny, because it kind of captured how South Africans were sitting in front of their TVs, bracing themselves and waiting to hear whether or not we could buy alcohol again. Of course, I got a lot of nasty comments about this is not funny and why are we celebrating alcohol. There were people that actually thought that clip was real, which I thought in itself was quite a funny thing. Another little clip that I made that got a hell of a lot of sharing was a little clip I made during the World Cup soccer, the last game. What happened was I saw these soccer players rolling around on the ground. They're all complaining and crying. I made that little clip which said, strange to see so many soccer players with tattoos considering how low their pain threshold was. And there you can see it got about 31,000 shares, which is an amazing number of shares. So the reason why it was so popular at that time was, first of all, it was quite funny. It sparked something we were all thinking. And the second thing was its relevance. It was during the World Cup soccer. So all I'm going to say to you is that some of my stuff works, some of it doesn't. When it doesn't, I'll go back and I try and analyze my own stuff and see where I missed the mark. And here are 5 reasons why you're probably not getting traction at the moment, and you need to address them. First of all, you're going in with absolutely no strategy. You have no reason why you think things, you're doing things on a haphazard basis. You're posting every once a week, then suddenly not at all, then you'll miss a month. You're not even sure what you're posting. There's no call to action. There's no strategy around what you're doing. The second reason, and this is the hard one to tell people sometimes, is that you're simply posting boring content. What you think is important to you is not actually resonating with your audience at all. You yourself very often are not your audience. You need to understand what it is that your audience wants to see. And then the third reason is a lack of images, good images and videos. In other words, you're posting a couple of lines. There's nothing drawing people to it. There's nothing visually appealing to it. It's low quality imagery. That also makes a big difference. And then, of course, they're offering no value to the customer. Now, not every one of these has to be every time, but if there's no value, even if that value is a good laugh or something to share or something that tugs at the heartstrings, remember, you always want to do that. And then the final reason why you're probably not having success at the moment is you have an undefined target audience. And that also can draw you back by not understanding who you're talking to, what it is they're looking at. Sorry, excuse me. Please understand, your target audience on Facebook is not the same target audience as Instagram. It is not the same target audience as TikTok. So if you're posting the same stuff on each one of those channels, somewhere you're getting it wrong. You need to define your content for your audience. So those are reasons why you get no content. So in a nutshell, this is social media for you. Social media is no longer optional. It's become the way that people communicate. I can tell you right now, very few people can afford any other form of marketing at the moment besides social media. So it's kind of a matter of do or die. In fact, about 12 years ago, when social media first came on the scene, I was talking to restaurant owners and telling them about social media and telling them and I was getting laughed off the stage on a daily basis. Now we've got people scrambling to get on, scrambling to launch their businesses. It's simply not optional. Number 2, social media is not difficult. It really is pretty easy to do. Each one of you sitting out there at the moment can do some form of social media. You might not get it right every single time. Not every one of your posts will be loved every single time, but it's not so difficult. It's not so daunting that you should sit there thinking to yourself, oh, I can't do this, and start hyperventilating and taking deep breaths. All I'm going to ask you is go and do one thing today. Go register your domain. Go create one Facebook page. Go fix up your Facebook business page. I don't mind what it is. Just go do one thing. Take one piece of action. You know, I don't know if any of you have read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Excuse my language, but that's the name of the book by Mark Manson. It is absolutely amazing. And the thing that struck out most for me from that whole book was one line where he says, motivation does not bring action. Action brings motivation. You're not going to find the motivation to do this. What you're going to do is you're going to take one step, then you're going to see, wow, that really works for me. I can take this one step forward, and that action is going to drive more motivation, which is then going to drive more action. But please don't sit there waiting for the motivation to do this. It's not going to come to you. Number 3, social media is not free. It's going to cost you something, whether it's an investment of time or a video stock footage or some placed adverts. It's not free, but it's worth it. So please take the time and trouble, find even if your input is not financial, if your input is time that you're prepared to go and learn, watch some videos, do things better. Social media is not free, but it's worth it. Number 4, a big warning. Once you post it, it's out there. You have to be very, very careful what you post. You need to be very careful on a political, religious, racial, humor basis. Make sure that what you're doing right now, I talk to youngsters all the time about the fact that what they're doing on social media right now is they're creating their CV. I would rather spend half an hour on a youngster's Instagram page than I would interviewing them. I'll know more about them. I'll know how often they'll drink. I know what they drink. I know how often they pull the finger sign. I'll know what they think of their previous boss. I'll know whether they throw up when they go out partying. They're putting it all out there like a giant CV. And you're doing the same. You're putting on your personal page, you're posting your own personal preferences. And then on your business page, which is linked to your social page, you might be promoting something completely different. So for example, your business page, you're promoting a healthy lifestyle, but on your personal page, you're posting pictures of you drunk by the side of a river throwing up. Those kind of things just don't blend together. So be careful what you post out there. I was watching the other day, a young friend of my daughter's posting on social media just how drunk he was. And the next day, his mom's posting on Jewish Mommy Group that she believes her son would make a great au pair. Now, anyone who's putting those two together is not going to be making that phone call. Number 5. There we go. Number 5, social media. Sorry, I went in the wrong direction. Number 5, listen first and sell second. People are giving you messages all the time. Go look at stuff that people are writing. They're writing about complaints they've got. They're writing about products they can't find. They're writing about things that follow your competition on Twitter. Watch what people are saying about your competition and then go and be better than them and then go and sell. And then number 6, sell, sell, sell. Don't forget that the reason you're putting in all this time and effort is actually to make sales and to grow your business. That's really what it's all about. Because I can tell you right now that success is not guaranteed, but insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So please, you've got to change something about yourself today. You've got to find some way to make your business better. You've got to find something to do in social media that you weren't doing before that you can do now. Go and create an Instagram page. Go and make your first Instagram post. Go create your first video. I'm kind of imploring you and begging you to take one step in any direction away from where you are right now. So that's kind of my talk. I got through it in about an hour, which leaves us about 15 to 20 minutes for questions. I'm very happy to take any kind of questions on any subject, whether you'd like to post them or unmute yourself and speak to me. Only too happy to hear from you. Let's hear it.
So, Mark, we have a question in the chat box. In fact, 2.
Okay, let's start with those.
The first one, and I do see hands up, so let me just cover these. The first one from Leon, he said, where do you see LinkedIn fitting into your social media strategy?
Okay, so LinkedIn is a very strange beast that's growing exponentially at the moment. And I think the day that Microsoft bought it for millions or billions of rands, we all should have known that LinkedIn was going to become a bigger and bigger player. So LinkedIn is first of all, if you want to put your CV out there or put yourself out there as a business, you have to have a professional LinkedIn profile. Go do some research on how to create that. Make yourself a page. It's of course a lot more business than personal. So for example, on my Facebook page, I might post what I'm eating, which I wouldn't put on my LinkedIn page. On my LinkedIn page, I'd put more videos that are work related. So it's a lot more work related, but it is a more and more important point there. I don't know a lot of people that boast a lot of success on LinkedIn. I know that sounds strange because it seems to still favor employment agencies and people looking for jobs more than anything else. But it is an important part of it, and I would put some time and effort into making sure that my LinkedIn profile is at least professionally done, which I would do myself. I don't mean you should pay someone to do it for you, but that it does look professional, that it's kept up to date, that your contact details are there, and that you are posting your work then on social media as well.
Thank you, Mark.
Sure, Leah.
The other thing was you mentioned a book earlier where you spoke about Kit Kat and the coffee reference. Could you repeat the name of the book, please?
The book is called Contagious, and it's by a guy by the name of Jonas Berger. And if anyone would like a link to it, they can just send me a WhatsApp and I'll send you a link to it on Audible. You can join Audible and download the book.
Thank you, Mark. There's nothing else in the chat box, so I would really like to invite the participants to unmute themselves if you're comfortable to put on your video camera, and let's use the time that we have left to ask our burning questions.
I'm looking at all these nervous people about to push the button. They're not sure. Should I ask it? Come on, step out of that comfort zone. There, David Tucker just unmuted himself. I think you're on mute, Dave. I can't hear you. No, I can see you, and I can see your lips moving.
There you go.
David, we're not hearing you for some reason. You want to type it into the chat. Sorry, Dave.
Brad has asked, how do you make a Twitter account and do people still use it?
Okay, so Twitter is a very, very interesting beast. It's a very angry playing field at the moment, and I'm not sure that people are using it for business as much for putting across their personal opinions and anything like that. So it's a strange playing field at the moment. It's very easy to create a Twitter account. Simply go to Twitter and say create account, put in an email address, pick a Twitter name, and put yourself on Twitter. I would recommend Twitter as a way to watch what your competition are doing at the moment, and see from there. I'm not certain that Twitter is the marketing beast that people once thought it would be, although people are still spending money on adverts. So Twitter, I like it. I'm there every day. I do watch my Twitter. I post on there every now and again, but I don't see Twitter as a marketing profile as much as I do any other platform at the moment.
Thank you, Mark. The questions are coming in fast and furious.
Sure.
What is the cost of an average website created from scratch?
Okay, so I can't speak for everyone. I can tell you what I charge for websites, and then you can decide from there. So if it is extremely basic, and I'm talking about 2 or 3 pages with not much work, I'm charging $4,500 from start to finish, including all the images. For anything that's a little bit more complicated, I'm charging $6,500. And then once you're putting on e-commerce, you can expect to pay probably between $12,000 and $15,000, depending on the number of products that you want. And that's, I think, a pretty fair guideline. You will find people that will do it for less. You can probably get a website for about 1,800 or maybe 2,000 Rand. I can't vouch for the quality of what you'll get and the know-how, but it is possible. But that should give you an idea. I would say bank on a region between 4,500 and 6,500 for a pretty good, fully functional, fully rigged up website.
Thanks, Mark. There's a question, another question on the first place to start on your social media. So what would the first step be if you have no social media account?
Okay, so first, number one, go and create a Facebook profile, a personal Facebook profile. That's step number one, because without a personal Facebook profile, you can't create a business page. So go and create that personal business page, sorry, personal profile, put a bit of effort into it, start posting occasionally. You don't have to be too personal. You don't have to put pictures of your kids, all the things that worry you about social media. They shouldn't worry you because everyone already knows everything you're doing anyway, just by having a cell phone. There's nothing private anymore left in life. So go and create yourself a personal Facebook page. Once you've done that, then go and create a business page for yourself. Have some fun creating that business page. Although it's public straight away as you start creating it, you don't have to tell anyone about it. So it's not that people are going to go and visit. Go and play, create that page, put nice images there, do some research on it. That would be my second step, would be to create the page. The third one would be to actually start learning to make some videos. Because once you're making little videos, video blogs, little video interviews, little videos of what's going on, and you start posting them, that's when you're going to start seeing traction. So that would be kind of my first 3 steps.
Thanks, Mark. And I have put in the chat box for all the participants that the video shooting and editing on your mobile device will be on the 8th of June at 10 a.m.
Good to see you all there.
Yes. David said that we couldn't hear him earlier, and he said he loved your slides from today, the white, the graphics, the text, the layout, everything. And he said, why do you not use photos from themes in Canva?
Sorry, why do I not use?
The Canva themed photos in your presentations.
Okay, so each time I do a presentation, I tend to do it differently. So for example, this particular one, I chose the idea that I would use graphics as opposed to photographs. There are other ones where I will use photographs throughout the whole theme. So it depends on, so the first thing that you need to appreciate about my slides, which might give you a lesson about your own website, is that black writing on a white background is the easiest and most professional to read. So this idea of having these fancy color backgrounds and floating stuff all around, it's about the most popular website in the world is Google, and that's black writing on a white background that gives you information. So try and remember that when you're doing your own presentations. Also, another thing you'll see about my presentations is how few words I use, and I rather speak and use the graphics. So when you're doing your own presentation, try and remember that as well. They call it, I think, the 4x4 rule. There should be no more than 4 lines, and each of those lines should have no more than 4 words. That's kind of the 4x4 principle of presentations. You can translate that into everything as well. So try and remember to keep your, whatever you're doing, keep it neat and clean, not too cluttered, easy to read, draws the eye to somewhere, and then back it up with some kind of imagery, whether it's great images from Canva or it's graphics. That will depend on the presentation you're doing at that particular time.
Thanks, Mark. Leon, do you have a question? I see your hand is raised.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Mark, firstly, thank you very much for your presentation today. This is not the first one that I've attended, but I found it particularly interesting today because I'm at a new juncture in my own career. That's why I sent you a personal private message to say that I wanted to chat to you. But if I can just share with you what my issue is, and you can tell me either you can deal with it now or you want to take it offline. So I'm about to launch a new venture into the mediation space, promoting myself as a mediator based on my professional and commercial experience to date. And I've just really setting out on this. And similar to the question that was asked before of where to start, I'm challenged with that at the moment. I've had for many years a Twitter account, a LinkedIn account, a personal Facebook account. So I've had some social media presence. I've done my own videos, although I haven't posted them anywhere, but I have done videos. And the question is developing an overall strategy now in terms of the way forward. And I think that from a previous presentation that I've heard from you, one actually needs to develop that strategy first, that marketing strategy, the business strategy, and then take it from there. So I'm not sure if you want to respond to any of that or whether you want to take it offline.
So let me give you a general response that everyone can share, and then you and I will chat offline. So step number one is to understand what you can do for other people, what the service that you're going to do, what benefit will other people get from it? That's probably the key thing to what you're going to market. So people are not that particularly interested in what you do or what you did in the past or who you are. What they really is with them. What's in it for me?
Mhm.
Can you answer that question? That would be where I'd spend a lot of I'd spend the next week answering that question. What's in it for me from a customer's point of view? Why should I call in Leon Kaplan to do my mediation for me? How lost am I if I don't? What are the benefits of calling him in if I do? And I'm speaking to all of you about your own businesses.
Right.
Get your head around what's in it for me, because we ourselves are asking that. When you come on, even if you spend an hour listening to me talk, basically in the bottom of your head, you're actually saying to yourself, what's in it for me? What can I get out of this presentation?
In
You
other
don't
words,
really care.
what's my unique selling proposition?
Yes, and what it even goes beyond that. Even that unique selling proposition has to be, it can't be, well, I'm good at what I do, or I'm the best at what I do, because that's not going to, what it is I can save you time and money. I can take the hassle out of something. I know that's what David does. David Tucker's business is taking the aggravation out of the body corporate relationship. He's got a very clear understanding. And when you talk to people about the pains of having a body corporate or that agreement, that you can actually see their face change.
Mhm.
So your job and everyone else here is to try and understand what unique service am I delivering to someone that they're going to sit there and go, oh my goodness, this is what I've been waiting for all my life.
Okay,
I didn't
that's
know
very
this
useful.
existed. I didn't know this existed. And here's someone who can do this for me. Now, once you got to that point, price doesn't even matter anymore. Of course, they'll want to know what you charge, but they won't really be interested in that because they have now found the person that can solve the problem for them. So we'll continue the conversation offline, but I hope that gives everyone some kind of insight into first step is understanding what do I do for people.
Thank you.
Trace, any others?
There's a last question here
Sure.
from Odette. She said, and I'm not entirely sure what her meaning is, but how does a responsive website work with all different devices?
Okay, so no problem. I can answer that for you. The website knows what device you're on. Your devices are constantly communicating with each other. So when I open my own website in front of me on the screen, what I will see, in fact, I wonder if I can actually, let me see if I can quickly give you a demonstration of that. Just give me 1 second, yeah. Just give me sorry, everyone, just give me 1 second to, what? WP admin. Let's see if I can get into my own website quickly for you. I'm just going to stop sharing because I need to change the screen that I'm sharing. Is that mine? Is the new screen sharing?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so this is the back end of my own website that I'm looking at the moment. You can see it's built in WordPress 5.9. You can see all the stuff that I've got on it. Now, this is what my website looks like on a desktop. If I go to the bottom there, I can look at how my desktop will look when it goes onto a tablet, and then I can look at how my website will look when it goes onto a phone. So I can look at my own website and I say, okay, this works for me. So whereas on the screen, the videos are lined up 2 by 2, on my phone, it's automatically lined up like that. Whereas my navigation is all along the top here. As soon as I get onto a phone, my navigation becomes that menu bar over there. So the device knows straight away the website knows what device it's on. And based on that device, it then decides, let me just go back to that sharing one. It then shows you what it is. And that's what responsive is and what makes responsive so important, that I get different sizes and different outlays when I'm on different devices. So I hope that helps you.
Yes, thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank
Sure.
you, Mike.
Okay,
Thank
we're
you,
done
Mark.
with questions. Let me just
Thank
get
you.
one. I just want to get one screen up quickly. That's the one I want there. Okay, so thank you, everyone. So I can only hope that I did succeed. I hope I was able to introduce you to social media. I hope I've calmed you a little bit, maybe even excited you. I hope I've inspired you. And most importantly, I've informed you. And most importantly, I hope I've inspired you to do something today, whether it's just look at your business from a different angle. I don't really mind what it is. Take a step today. It's been my great pleasure to be here again with Ort. If you want to get hold of me, please feel free to contact me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on WhatsApp. As I said, please just don't send me voice notes. Those things do drive me a little bit insane. But besides that, thank you all for attending. I'll see you all again in a month's time for cutting through the digital clutter, and 2 months' time for video editing. I hope I'll see all of you here. And thank you.